All the shows on TV basically show you that, you know, to be funny and cool, basically you shouldn't learn anything, you shouldn't actually study about anything or know about anything real in the world.
Oh yeah, it's not cool to be informed.
No, absolutely not. It's cool to, you know, get drunk all the time and to, you know, basically have no morals and no values. I mean, all the hot shows on television now are all about people who have no morals and no values.
I know, when you run into the general public, they're like repeating TV things. They're like a computer that thinks if they put out false info at you, it like works. And they're one-dimensional, unhappy, not even real people. It's really actually sad.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I used to enjoy television until I started to see the subtlety behind what they were doing and the programming, especially in movies as well. And nowadays, it's the point I don't even want to watch any of this stuff anymore because it's just garbage. It's just...
Oh, once you know about it, the programming, it is over the top. You're just seeing it all. And then I talk to TV execs and people, and they go, no, we know, we don't like it, but this is what the bosses say.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, so your kids are all going to be screwed up too. That's the crazy thing. Even the so-called elite, they're not getting out of this, but in their will to dominate us and dumb us down, they're really doing it to themselves.
Yeah, and it's kind of cartoonish at this point. I mean, the way that people are overdoing everything in every piece of media. I mean, there's no such thing as a subtle point delivered through media anymore. It all has to be in your face, and every time it's in your face, it's never something that's going to help you live your life and find more satisfaction and thrive in the world. It's something that's going to undermine your needs as an individual and the needs of your family and your friends as well.
I saw that happen actually to a greater degree as an adult, going into the different talent agencies, some of the top ones in Chicago and in Minneapolis and in Atlanta. Having the adults, the actors, taking part in this advertising, thinking that was the real world as soon as they left the agency. I says, what, are you kidding me? Come on, snap out of it. You are a human being. You have the ability to take control of what's going on. Your perception of reality is so jaded and so warped. Get out and find out what's really going on. Shut the TV off. And it was a complete dichotomy and opposite of what I was taught, you know, in the industry.
Well, I mean, these people are such narcissists too. They buy into it and they actually believe it, and they are like robots. And it's all like they fake stimulate themselves. They sit there and like program themselves, and they're not even conscious of it. It is unbelievable.
Well, and the flicker rate, I mean, that's been shown to put people into a hypnotic state. There's so much information on the news channels, the tickers. It's too much for the brain to take, and it actually go into a subconscious state, and they're just plugging the mainstream reality right into your subconscious.
Exactly, and we're here trying to go into the matrix to get people out of it. Let's go back to more of the premiere here on InfoWars Nightly News of State of Mind.
Secure your copy today at Infowars.com.
Moving beyond Bernays, other luminaries in the manufacturing of public consent included Walter Lippmann and Ivy Lee, both of whom complemented these tactics by expanding the breadth and depth of mass media entrainment of individual minds.
And then I read 1928, a book by Walter Lippmann, talking about public relation and public opinion, and basically saying the same thing, that the public is not inherently irrational, but they can use PR and propaganda and media to play upon people's existing irrationality instead of introducing them to the concepts and definitions of that which exists. So instead of creating world peace by putting everyone on the same page, by giving us a method to discern fact from fiction, they use that gap in our perception to play tricks on us. So that's all I've ever seen during human history, is human beings playing tricks on other human beings.
As for Ivy Lee, he was not only popular with some of America's most prestigious corporations and foundations, he also found time in his busy schedule to personally counsel John D. Rockefeller, to represent Standard Oil, and was one of the earliest members of the Council on Foreign Relations. Moreover, in the 1930s, Ivy Lee was a consultant to Adolf Hitler, tasked with developing strategies to improve Germany's image in the United States and abroad.
Kids are impressionable. That's why here at this station, we watch the programs and commercials your child watches carefully. He may see bad guys, but not in the role of heroes. He'll learn that crime doesn't pay. Because your child's welfare is our concern, too. That's part of our code. The code of the National Association of Broadcasters for television and the greater public interest.
Waco was an odd situation regarding both the law enforcement aspects of it, regarding ATF going in and doing the raid on the Branch Davidian compound, as well as the fact that Special Operations Command was called to help. This is one of those situations where everything that could go wrong pretty much went wrong from day one. The Clinton administration and Janet Reno started looking for options. One of the options that they decided to engage on was bringing Special Operations Command in to advise them on quote-unquote psychological operations. When the Special Operations Command elements arrived, they began giving advice to the law enforcement individuals on how to go about implementing specific themes. Within the psychological operations community, they typically look at themes of how to modify, adapt, or somehow reshape the thinking of a target group, of an audience. These specific techniques, which were brought to bear on the Branch Davidians, were developed for military operations overseas, primarily against a foreign target. So another question has to be asked: what is the wisdom of using psychological operations techniques developed for an audience against a U.S. target? Again, a very controversial issue. How does one defend themselves against strategic information, propaganda? It's a very simple answer. Ask questions. Always check your source. I, as a public figure, am often having to speak publicly about issues and information. I look at everything. I've been criticized by my friends. Oh my God, you look at Fox News, you look at CNN. Absolutely, because the false information being provided to the mainstream outlets means something. So why are they saying things a certain way?
How are the habits of individuals changed and then reinforced to create new behaviors preferable to the collective? In the 21st century, the method has evolved little from millennia ago. Only the technology has changed. Today's television provides those who leverage public airwaves with an opportunity to control individuals far beyond the simple linguistic programming of radio.
The major point of television is the commercial. The programming is designed to kind of keep people hanging in there long enough to watch a commercial, and that they're in a more passive, zombified state to buy into the goofy, silly commercial. That is the point of it.
You are willingly subjecting yourself and your family to psychological warfare assault, not just with the semantics, not just with the messages, but the very flicker rate of the television, on record, patented to put you into a dreamlike sleep state where you're highly suggestible.
You think you're looking at a constant picture. You're really not. Modern televisions, you're looking at LEDs, and they're going on and off. Because they're going on and off, there's a brain entrainment process that takes place. To make it real simple, it comes down to this. Research shows us that the average person, when placed in front of a television set in less than 3 minutes, will go into alpha. Hypnosis is, for all intent and purposes, objectified by brainwave activity. If I'm looking at your brainwaves, an EEG, in normal consciousness, you're operating at what we think of as beta. So you're going to be 15 to 30 cycles per second. 30 is on the stress side, but that's typically where you're going to fall. In alpha, you're going to be 7 to 14 cycles per second, 8 to 14 cycles, depending on the scale. Now, alpha consciousness, for all intent and purposes, is a state of hyper-suggestibility.
And it keeps people sedated. You know, they use them in televisions are used in prisons. They're cheaper than hiring more guards. Of course, people are going to be then told that it's okay not to just have one television, but to have 3, 4 televisions in a house, and to be not watching it just on a normal television set, but on their phone and on their laptop. And you want to normalize this kind of crazy thing of people spending 5, 6, 7 hours a day watching television.
Television has been the ultimate tool of mind control. And for more than 60 years, children are set in front of it as a babysitter, while they are bombarded with images of violence and decadence and corruption. And what it does is it just acclimates the child that when they see a real person dying on the street, they don't go over and aid them. We see this happening because, oh, that's entertainment. In fact, people now have been recorded laughing at someone hurt because it's just more entertainment. They've had their basic empathy disconnected, cut off.
The role of advertising has certainly evolved away from one of utilitarian necessity in communicating the form, function, and value of a product. The application of the behavioral and psychological sciences has played a seminal role in the way corporations now sell products to consumers in American society and internationally. In 1921, after leaving Johns Hopkins University, John B. Watson, the founder of behaviorism, took a job with the J. Walter Thompson Company, and by 1928, he was vice president of the entire firm. Watson introduced new market research techniques into advertising and discovered that sales could be influenced by manipulating images associated with brand names. For instance, blindfolded smokers could not tell the difference between brand name and generic. J. Walter Thompson remains one of the most powerful advertising agencies in the world today.
Most people believe that you're going along through life making your own choices, making your own decisions, okay? I decided to do this, I decided to do that, I did that. By watching the brain lifetime, neuromarketers today know exactly what product to place where, how to package that product, what colors you're going to respond to, what images you're going to respond to, what kind of pre-programming already exists that they can couple it to.
And so when you have a society where people are being told at every level to consume, to buy their way into happiness, and that's their only salvation, that's their only way into happiness, is to then you have what I call a kind of fundamentalist consumer society. How is that problematic? Why is that dangerous? Well, when you have people who only care about buying things, you're gonna make people weaker in a lot of ways. You're gonna certainly make them less self-reliant. And when they're told that you just buy things, buy your way into happiness, they don't realize that you can gain strength by doing a lot of things yourself, okay? You also make people self-absorbed. A point of all advertising, which is the technology of consumerism, is to get people to care, over focus on every one of their needs and every one of their feelings. So if they're having a bad day, they must focus on that and focus on how depressed they are.
Billions and billions and billions of dollars have been spent, privately and publicly, looking at how to tap into your psyche, how to cause you to make choices that you wouldn't otherwise make, to do things that you wouldn't otherwise do, to consume, whether it's a product or a plank in a political platform.
I've also asked the school board to make a part of every day some kind of anti-violence, anti-gun message. Every day, every school, at every level. One thing that I think is clear with young people and with adults as well is that we just have to be repetitive about this. It's not enough to simply have a catchy ad on a Monday and then only do it every Monday. We need to do this every day of the week and just really brainwash people into thinking about guns in a vastly different way.
To me, with the media just willing to report whatever the government tells it to report, that gives the government free rein to create whatever story or narrative it wants to create for whatever purpose it wants to create a story for. And that's where we're at.
That's why when you put on the 6 o'clock news and you switch from one channel to another, they take their commercial breaks at the same time, they tell the same news stories, and they tell the same news stories at the same time. But then you go to the internet, you go to BBC out of London, or one of the other foreign news services, and you see all kinds of news that we never hear about here.
Mass media today is the cutting edge of psychological warfare, and it is nothing but an all-out assault against the general public. When you watch mainline establishment television, you are putting yourself in front of the barrel of a gun.
Secure your copy today at Infowars.com.
We're back. I'm going to talk to James Lane and Richard Grove right now. How are the ideas of Huxley's Ultimate Revolution integrated into American culture? And I want to discuss the pharmacological control of the anti-authoritarian personality.